Welcome to the Business Development Podcast, brought to you by the Global Business Development Association, delivering the strategies and tactics to boost your career and corporate growth.
Hello, BD pros, and welcome to the Global Business Development Association podcast called What is Business Development? And it's great to have everybody back, and it's especially great to have a fantastic book author with us today. Let me talk about something that we all business developers confront, and that's the ability to integrate innovation successfully. And it's a common challenge for business, but it's one that we can overcome today. And we're going to do that with our book author. But before we get to that, let's talk about another common challenge that business developers often face, and that's having all the competency about business development and all speaking one common language in business development. Well, fret no more. We have the solution for you, and that's the business development body of knowledge. You can grab it on Amazon, and then when you read the book, you can take your BDP certification. That's your business development professional certification. It's available on the GBDA website. That's at gbdassociation.org. Grab your copy of the BD Bach and get certified BDP today. All right, folks, we're going to talk about this book called The Innovative Business Development Book. It's Implementing Transformation from Within. And the author is Yaron Flint. Let me tell you a little bit about the book before I introduce our author. And the book provides not only an understanding of why innovation challenges happen and infusing those innovations into the business, but it's actionable steps to overcome that problem. It offers practical solutions and a fresh perspective. The book illustrates correlation between innovation and business development, and it shows how they can complement each other to create a successful business strategy. And today, our author is Yaron Flint. And his contributions to business development are rooted in an operational strategy that supports transformative investments. With his expertise in strategy consulting and M&A execution, he guides teams in navigating and integrating innovation, ensuring sustainable growth, and a competitive advantage. Yaron Flint, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's great to have you here, Yaron. And we're talking about a topic today that I don't think we've covered in previous episodes. And it's really drilling down into the details of innovation and how we as business developers can infuse that innovation into businesses. And it's a big challenge for folks. But I'd love to hear, first of all, Yaron, how did you get into the business development profession and why did you write the book?
So I basically started in economics. I was an analyst, and then I joined one of the richest guys in the world, traveling all around the world looking for lucrative opportunities for him. And what this guy really liked to do is take these people who have the analysis side, but the business development Zs, and then train them to be self-sustained. So he basically gets a one-man show where he sends you to analyze deals, but the expectation is for you to come with more deals to the table. And that's the best thing, because you learn how to deal with any situation in any country, in any given circumstance.
Wow.
And the reason... Sorry?
Yeah, no, please go ahead.
And the reason I wrote the book, when I started working in Continental, I basically came up to them and said, how are you integrating open innovation into your company? And they said, well, it's trial and error. And I said, really? You don't have a guidebook? And I started asking around, and I saw that all the companies are really not using a guidebook. And no one has written a guidebook on how to do open innovation in a structured and less opportunistic way. I said, hey, it's very similar to business development. Let's write a guidebook. If no one wrote about it, I should. So I wrote a book that I wished I had when I started this journey.
Okay, great. Well, and you know what? A lot of us as business developers, we're constantly in this journey because a big part of what we do is help infuse that innovation into the business, right?
Exactly.
We are there as advocates for our customers and for our prospects. So inherently, our role is to deliver what our prospects and customers need. That is our job, to deliver value to them. And so we're right there on the front lines every day, hearing what customers are saying, and then being able to go back to the product development teams, the entire enterprise, and say, guys, we need to innovate. Okay. This is what, let's make things happen, folks, because otherwise, if you wait too long, competitors are going to innovate and you're going to get crushed. All right, Yaron, let's jump into tactic number one, the top key takeaway from your book, please.
So let's start with from a point that you first need to have a strategy. And this is where a lot of companies fail at because they confuse strategy with tactics. Tactics is the actions you take, and strategy is the thing that guides you forward, right? And they're kind of confusing, saying, hey, I'm doing this. This is a strategic decision. And no, it's a tactic if it's not really analyzed and compared into other elements. So you need to have both, and you need to have a feedback loop with tactics are kind of like the execution side of the strategy that you have, but also feeding them back of what you're learning into the field. And this feedback loop is very, very important. And this is where you start to see companies go sideways, right? So let's talk about the tactics that you use. The first one that I use is basically scan the outside world relentlessly. What I basically do is not just focus on your current sector. It's learning from what's happening in other sectors. What are the trends? What are the new technologies? Because as it turns out, there's a spillover, between or technologies that are moving between sectors, and now more than ever, when you have this digital transformation in materials and hardware that are becoming more and more software oriented. So every automotive learned from aviation. Now agri-tech is learning from automotive, and construction tech are learning from automotive, and all are moving to defense. So all these kind of movements are very important. And if you see the transitions in the technologies that were, I would say, more successful in a sector next to you, you will learn a lot on what will happen in your sector. So that's point number one.
Well, I love point number one. And I like how you kind of framed everything by the fact that you need to have a strategic plan. And I think it was the great warrior philosopher Sun Tzu who says tactics are nothing more than the noise before defeat, right? You have to have strategy. And without it, you're just kind of flailing about. You might get lucky here and there. And then I like what you said about tactic number one. And that is scan not only your immediate market, your immediate community, but keep eyes out. Look
Exactly.
360 and see those complementary markets where you can cross-pollinate best practices, cross-pollinate technology, cross-pollinate new product concepts, or even find possible new partners to collaborate and build something together. So I really like what you say. And you know what? As business developers, we're out there constantly in the community, in the environment, in the marketplace. We're going to conferences. Conferences are full of complementary companies that are out there, maybe in tangential markets, or even just keeping your eyes on a broader marketplace and just understanding what's going on in the world, right?
Exactly. And eventually you don't need to really invent the wheel. You just learn how to reutilize it. So taking a technology that works in another sector and applying it to your sector is the best thing you can do, rather than just inventing something out of scratch. And all the investments that I did, all the biggest partnerships that I've done are from mature technologies from other sectors.
Yeah, I really like that. And so tell us a little bit, Yaron, how are you keeping eyes out? I mentioned going to conferences, but what are some of those things that maybe you do on a day-to-day basis, or you have in your strategic plan, some of those channels, if you will, where you can find what's going on?
So that brings me into tactic number two. And basically, the second book that I wrote, which is about networking. And the biggest asset for a business development manager is the network that he has. And networking is not the opportunistic thing that you think it is. It's more strategical than that. A network is not a set of contacts. It's the people and engagements that you work with in order to generate something. So your network is not the contacts that you have, it's what you do with them that matters. And for me, the most important thing that I had or built is have an expert in every domain I don't know anything about as a contact person. So name a sector, name a topic. I have an expert I can call, reach out to, and ask him a question. So when I come with a challenge, I'd rather, instead of trying to redefine it or rethink about it, or I don't know, start browsing around the world, I just pick up the phone to 5 friends and I find the solution.
Yeah, that's fun. That's fantastic. It's like the old game show where you could phone a friend, right?
Exactly.
And yeah, I mean, you could research it on ChatGPT, but it's even more fun to actually talk to somebody. And they have those life experiences, they have their relationships that a ChatGPT or some other AI tool. They're all wonderful tools, but they don't
And
have
it,
relationships.
and a ChatGPT will never give you the soft analysis, which means, is this company worthwhile? Are these, trustworthy people that you want to collaborate and talk to? Or is just fluff or a great technology and a PR trend, right?
Yeah, well, and I use those AI tools every day, and they're very powerful. And so many people say that, oh, AI will replace business developers, and I tell them, no,
No way
no,
in
and
hell, because when you think about the networking side of it, how can an AI ever replace that? They don't know how to interact with people. They can give you tools in the way to manage your relationships in a better way, so you won't forget. But the human factor becomes even more important when you have all these AI tools, because there's so much noise out there that you need to overcome it.
yeah, you do, and they're very powerful tools. You should leverage them. I'm not saying that businesses should not. You should always be scanning media. Businesses that have developers have done this for years, where we're constantly reading our trade journals back in the day, our feeds. Everything is those are sending us the signals, but you also have to have that human network where humans operate based on trust, period, not
Exactly.
facts and figures. And we know that trust is proven by neuroscience to be based on purpose, empathy, and truth, period. End of story. And we operate as humans trusting other humans. That's why we go into business with them. That's why we form partnerships with them. It's based on trust. So we are, as business developers, we're the trust sensors out there. But as we're sharing, a big part of that trust building is sharing. I'm sure you have, your 5 people, your phone of friends, they call you. I bet you they call you, right?
100%. I'm the go-to guy in automotive and construction. And I think, in business development, uh, we are more than just, the trust signals out there. We're the facilitators. We are basically creating these relationships between the outside world and the company. So we are building this trust, and we are the first people that the startups and outside organization call to if something is going wrong, to understand what's going on. And I think this is kind of the misuse of business development. And if you think about it, this is kind of mind-blowing. I haven't seen one MBA program that teaches this, and this is the most important topic in a business. How do you create partners? How do you go to customers? How do you generate or create a relationship with VCs? And no one is teaching you how to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Yaron, you triggered me there, my friend. You're going to get me on my soapbox because that's exactly why I wrote the business development body of knowledge. I looked around and
Exactly.
I have my MBA. It was a very nice program,
Hmm.
but there was so much that it did not teach. And look, business development is the lifeblood of the business world. I don't care what kind of accounting balance sheets you can read, income statements you can read. It doesn't matter. It's completely irrelevant if you have no top line coming in. You have no revenue coming in. And guess where that comes from, folks? It comes from the people right here you're watching, the people who are listening. We're out there, we're building those networks. And, increasingly, I see, this is interesting trend. I don't know if you've seen this, Yaron, is increasingly companies are hiring business developers and looking at their network. Like I saw one last week and they said, you must have a network of trusted partners, relationships. And so, this is critical. And now companies can easily measure that. They can go look in your LinkedIn profile. Oh, you have 200 connections. Are you kidding me? What rock are you living under,
Exactly.
And
I think
then, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I think one of the first things that a business development learns or manager learns is that you do deals not between companies but between people. That's the most fundamental essence of the business.
Yeah, it's between people, and let me characterize what I just said too. In having LinkedIn profiles, yes, I have thousands of them. That's great, but it kind of shrinks down to my cohort. Just like you have 5 that are in your close network. I call it my hunt club. You have to have those close partners. These people you trust implicitly. You built the trust over years. And you're constantly looking out for each other's back, right? It's your tribe. And, you're constantly calling each other, sharing ideas, proactively covering each other's back. And this is what humans have done for ages. And so it's great how you're really humanizing innovation and bringing that into businesses. Okay. So we talked about tactic number 1. We talked about tactic number 2. Let's jump into tactic number 3.
And I think this is the most interesting one. When people ask me, why were you successful in this? What's your secret sauce? I have one comment. I'm a great storyteller. And that's the point. You need to know how to address your audience. What is a storyteller? The storyteller is not the guy or the person who gets his audience engaged. He's the person who relates to his audience and understands what they're wanting to hear and knows how to transform or to tell the story in the way that will relate to them. So it's a very, very high emotional kind of state of mind, and being able to tell the exact same story in 5 or 6 different ways. So if you push, for example, an invisible marker in tires, every person that you meet, you need to tell the story in a relationship that he will understand it and he will relate to that.
Yeah, I really like that. Here's what I love about tactic number 3, Yaron. Folks listening, completely unprepared, unprompted. Yaron mentions and really focuses on storytelling. And the folks that are listening who have read the Business Development Body of Knowledge know that I talk a lot about the science of storytelling and why it's so fundamental to success in business development. So it's so great to have experts in BD around the world come on this show and re-emphasize these key principles, completely unscripted, unprompted from me in advance. It's because these are the common things that we have all learned, right? I bet you, Yaron, that was not in your undergraduate program, your graduate programs you've been involved with, right? That was not right. This is stuff.
No one told me I need to do like 5 different presentations to 5 different people in typecasts. Every lesson was learned, with battle scars, and you learned, okay, it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? It worked with this guy. Oh, but this guy was an engineer. This guy is a marketing guy. Maybe we should do something different, and this is how you learn things. It's kind of like going to the 16th century where you learned how to be a physician. You learned through body cadavers, right? So it's kind of like the same thing because, again, no one wrote a guidebook. So you need to walk your way through your world and do some mistakes in order to understand what should be done.
Folks, grab this book. You don't have to deal with all the challenges Yaron and I had to face over the years. While you're at it, grab this one too. Okay. Enough self-promotion. But hey, so let me ask you this concept, just to kind of really drill down in the tactical implementation of this concept. When you're talking about the storytelling, and we've talked about it in previous episodes, how really important it is, but in the context of innovation, what are you doing Because I guess what you're saying is, hey, leadership team, we need to bring in innovation. This is the story of how it will benefit the company. This is the story of how we'll implement it. I've heard of companies, I forget exactly which one, but they're a large Fortune 500. And when folks wanted to implement new innovations, they actually had the person write a press release in advance that would tell the story of what the outcome of that innovation implementation was. Is that kind of what you're talking about, or are there other facets of this concept?
It runs a bit deeper. Knowing how to write a story in the proper way is the first thing, and this is a thing a lot of people fall short at. You need to have a story. They jump into the middle, right? They're talking about the technology and why it works. Start from the problem. Why are we here? What did we do wrong? How can we change it? Tell it as a narrative, as a story. So that's what you're talking about. I'm talking about the deeper element of a storyteller, and that's relating to your audience. Really understanding what these people are looking to hear. What are the barriers? What makes them tick? What are they looking to understand from what you're saying? What are the things that really will catch them? And that you work on that. So you can tell exactly the same story in 5 different ways. It should be a story, but in 5 different ways.
I like how you're tailoring the story that probably has a common aspects to it, but you're tailoring it for each audience, whether that's your internal partners, your external partners, your prospects, your customers, right? They're all getting a little bit different story. And it sounds like what you're saying too, Yaron, is you have to constantly evolve that story, even
Exactly.
for those specific audiences, right? Because the elements of the environment are constantly changing. What's a concern for your customer today isn't going to be a concern for them tomorrow. The story needs to change.
Exactly, and you need to understand that different cultures, and I'm not talking about countries, or different people from different regions. It's engineers are not the same as marketing people, or not the same as executive, or not the same as procurement and legal. Each and everyone has their concerns. They are looking to hear something out of this that will relate to them. So you need to learn how to speak in their language.
Yeah, I love that. Yaron, let me summarize the top 3 takeaways from your book. And folks listening again, the book is called Innovative Business Development, Implementing Transformation from Within, authored by Yaron Flint, our guest today. So Yaron, tactic number 1, eyes out. Keep a 360 view of what's happening in the marketplace so that you, as the business developer, can spot those new innovations, often coming from industries that aren't even yours. They may be tangential, they may be way off over the horizon, but there are things that they're doing where you can cross pollinate into your field, into your industry, and maybe even partner with them to deliver innovations to your prospects and customers. Tactic number 2 is networking, not transactional, but high trust. Build that real high trust network, that team that knows you, trusts you, you trust them, you know them, and they are proactively telling you, hey, Yaron, I just saw something. This is the wildest thing. You guys probably need to think about innovating and implementing this new capability. Oh, that's great, because I just found this when I was at a conference, completely different industry, but I totally thought of you guys. And that kind of collaborative back and forth really helps deliver high trust, high impact, innovative solutions to your business. And then the final key takeaway, storytelling. Storytelling, not just for the sake of storytelling and one common story that you tell everybody, but really personalizing that story for each audience member, your internal partners, your external partners, your prospects, your customers. Everybody needs to have a story, and the story needs to continue evolving. And Yaron, I would like to thank you for telling us this wonderful story in your book about how we as business developers can implement these wonderful tactics and even more. So, folks, grab your copy of his book. Again, the book is called Innovative Business Development, Implementing Transformation from Within. It's available on Amazon. Yaron, how can folks follow your work, connect with you?
Easily. I'm very accessible on LinkedIn. I basically did a very interesting thing of writing a newsletter, a monthly newsletter that relates to the book. So people are asking me deeper questions, and I say, you know what, this is a great topic, and I write a newsletter article about that. So it's kind of a feedback loop between these articles in the book, and people reach out. They either engage and comment on things that I write, or write me in person.
Well, you're clearly doing what you tell people to do in your book, and that is constantly evolving, constantly learning, and constantly innovating with your body of work. And folks, reach out to Yaron, obviously a wonderful person, a thought leader in our industry. Yaron Flint. Sir, thank you for joining us today, and thank you for everything that you do for the business development profession.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Business Development Podcast. Join our free community of corporate partners and business development professionals advancing the art, science, and ethics of the business development profession at gbdassociation.org.